Whatever your vibe.
We are live. The campaign is going. Someone put in the chat. We'll start. We'll go right into it. They said Toyota has a new campaign for Camry where the tagline is "Whatever your vibe, it's a Camry vibe." You guys have any initial reactions you want to hit right off the bat?
I'm trying to find this campaign so that I can.
What is a Camry vibe? What does that mean? What's a Camry vibe?
Wait, I see feel the groove in the all new Camry.
Yeah, even better. We're still on the feel the groove. What is it? I saw one. I was talking about Meta Ray-Bans the other day. I don't know if you guys. I mean, we've obviously brought this subject up before, but I was like, hey, this is actually a great product. I don't know if you guys have used the Meta Ray-Bans, but they play audio like in your skull. You don't have to put a headphone on. You listen. You take a call. You listen to music. You listen to a podcast. It just plays, and no one can hear it around you, and you can hear it in your head. It's crazy. Key feature. But the tagline that they have for the Meta Ray-Bans is smart glasses for living all in. And I was like,
yes.
Like we may have a meta marketing problem. Ashwin, what's up, brother? Hey, Ashwin shaking his head as soon as he comes in the chat.
Immediately he comes in.
I'm about to log off after I heard that. Ruin my day.
And then we had in the chat, someone was like, whatever your vibe, it's a Camry vibe. So Ashwin, can we get a breakdown of which of those you like better?
Oh, he's like, what did I step into today?
Immediate reaction.
Yeah, I mean, a universal theme every time we talk together. Oh my God.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Didn't we talk about this? Didn't we talk about the use of
we
vibe?
have been here. We have been here before.
We've been here and the brands still aren't listening.
We've talked about Big Billion Energy. Now we have Toyota with
from 2008.
With it's a vibe. Okay.
Hold on. So I
mean, that is, look, to be honest, that is a great looking Camry. I say.
I would drive that. I would drive that Camry when I was in high school for sure.
I think they got to bring back the 99 gold colored Camry.
But
yeah, I think the RAV4 is more of a
vibe. So I think there's
the vibe.
I think there's let's take the kind of contrary view on this, right? We look at this, we're like, dude, it's a vibe that's dated. You can't be saying that. Meta, I don't know what they're saying. They're not making any kind of like culturally relevant statement, which is fine. That just sounds kind of cringy for
it's smart glasses for living all in, brother.
Smart glasses for living all in. Okay, that was never
want to go all in.
This trend. There was some conversation going on Twitter where someone was talking about how ads, especially in New York, really tap into like heavy niche online culture. So it's kind of like the commentary was, hey, you have to be someone who's kind of chronically online to understand these ads. And if you don't, it really doesn't make sense. And there was some responses where, I think Buc-ee's in Texas does this all the time with their ads, like ads that reference very kind of like in the moment online culture. And if you miss that, or if you're not like in on all the TikTok trends and Instagram trends and latest kind of like language, it's not going to make any sense to you. Mm-hmm. And so part of, I think all of our takes are, hey, this is like dated. That's not really hitting the mark. And I think maybe the contrary take here is like, hey, the audience that's maybe buying the Camry is a little bit older. They're not actively online. And like, it's a vibe, maybe just like working for them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool." I don't know. I don't know how much I can defend this
tagline per se. This it's a vibe tagline. Like, would this be showing up in a commercial spot inside a movie theater prior to the Civil War movie, or is this what is a?
Well, they've actually like they're pretty detailed in like where this is all rolling out. So it's like
The T2 agency team includes Saatchi and Saatchi. Yeah, that's all I need.
A T-squared marketing model.
Here's what's throwing me, at least from what I remember, and maybe y'all grew up different, but in the South, the Camry was like the car when a lot of my peers graduated high school, going into college, if their families could afford it. It was like the entry-level car that a lot of folks were getting. And so from my knowledge, it was a younger car, but it was also maybe more of a multicultural like marketing play opportunity as well from a price point standpoint. So for me, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at this ad and these people look young in this ad, and it just doesn't make sense to me to say it's
I'm going to set a stage here. There's a Japanese businessman. There's a black father. They're shaking hands. It's a vibe.
No? But this is going after the same market, I think, as the IS 300 or the 3 Series, or they're definitely trying.
I think isn't it still like an affordable vehicle? I do still think this is like a car you buy for your kids, right?
The Camry, no way. To me, this was the hand-me-down car that like dad or mom had, and then they'd like hand it down perhaps at 16, 17, 18. But these things they're proud of these things. I mean, I bet you starting price on a Camry, like all tricked out like that, is probably 60 grand, 55.
60 grand for a Camry?
Nope.
Yes, absolutely. Hold on, I'll find it right now.
This is going to be hot out of touch with the Band Brothers.
It's gotta be
starting like MSRP 28,400.
Thank goodness.
Okay.
Thank goodness. Oh my God.
Model shown though.
Jordan been in Dallas too long. I'm saying Jordan been at the Woodlands. You know what I'm saying? It's just
I'm gonna build. No. I'll build you a Camry that's at those prices, and it'll get up there.
Like, if I put some dubs on it, it's gonna be.
Well, I mean,
if it gets the full Dallas treatment.
Okay, what's the NFL mod plot? This looks smaller than the bigger Camry.
I don't know how we got here. We got this deep in already. While Jordan
we got deep on Camry.
Maybe we jump right into the. So Bima, I really enjoyed your take on Tyler, the Creator, for Supreme. I had a slightly different take, but I'd love to get yours zipped out there for the audience so they can understand a bit of what's happening and why, and then we can dive in. Jordan, don't stop building the Camry. We need to know the final price. But
I'm going to do that in the background, y'all. Don't you worry.
Okay, so on the Tyler front, right? The Tyler Supreme thing, right? I've been very critical of Supreme. I've been a longtime fan of Supreme, and I just don't like a lot of the moves they've been making. It's been pretty predictable, and it feels like a big corporate streetwear brand now. It doesn't really feel like itself. And so to me, Tyler being a creative director with Supreme, which wasn't what was announced. It was more of like internet chatter of like, yo, this would be dope. It doesn't make sense to me because Tyler already has all of his own brands now. And Tyler, in my opinion, is more relevant than Supreme is currently today. So I personally don't understand why he would take his focus off of his own things to go to Supreme other than live back in like the early 2010s.
So this is what's it? Devil's avocado, as they say. I look at this like, so Tyler has his own brands. Tyler's an amazing designer. Golf Wang is amazingly designed. What he did for Louis Vuitton I thought was really good. I think he has basically the eye, acumen, and taste to go wherever he wants to go. That said, I don't think the sales are there, right? He did one Lacoste collection that don't think sold very well, didn't go anywhere, did not repeat. They did that Louis Vuitton collection. That's I remember when Kid Super did the Louis Vuitton collection, those Kid Super bags were everywhere. Like, and the people had them, the ones with like the face and stuff. It was like, oh, this is a thing. That is not the case with the Tyler Louis collection, right? It was more of a look, we're showing a spotlight to this young designer who's incredible, who's going to be somewhere, makes sense in the Pharrell canon, but like it's not moving units. And then like Golf Wang, super cool, interesting brand that I think he's doing a really interesting job with. Also do not think is like some crazy cultural force. I look at this where you have like generational designer and creative talent, and he does not have a vehicle that is worthy of his talent. And the only way you can get a vehicle like that, like above the point where he's at now, which is super legitimate, to like where you go in the future is like an extremely legitimate place like that. And you're not going to get to Louis Vuitton level without going somewhere in between. So I really think that somewhere like Supreme, where say he was able to be a creative director somewhere there, bring a legacy back, something that is very natural to him, and like execute there for like a solid couple of years, all of a sudden he's way more on track and probably has way more commercial success to make the jump either with his own thing or with one of these like real deal fashion houses that there's really no other access level to, or else he's kind of stuck at this, like, you're super creative, you have a great talent, but you don't have the commercial jump. Just my 2 cents.
Well, I guess like if you do that with Supreme, right? Like why wouldn't he do that with golf, right? Because he has all of the relationships to do exactly what Supreme's doing. You know what I mean? Like The only thing, in my opinion, that makes Supreme is their access to brands to do collabs. And like, if Tyler just decided, like, actually, I'm going to focus all my energy into this, and I'm going to actually focus on doing these collabs with these other brands or working with some other niche brands that people don't really know right now, he could create all this other new energy, plus integrating into his own videos like he already does. I mean, like, I don't know. For me, I'm like, I just, as an entrepreneur, I just couldn't see it.
Like, no matter how corny it is, like 13 million followers, that website visit, the built-in infrastructure of it, the ability to say, like, he puts out the coolest golf wang collection ever. It gets a fraction of the attention of him in a green Supreme logo. And I think that there is just a massive resonance shift, like in a different way, that just plays on a different field, right? Like, and I think he's probably run the gambit of those things that he can do with his own brand and been like, all right, we're scratching the ceiling of that. And I feel like the lowest point of entry for Supreme is higher than the highest point he's gonna be able to get to with his own brand, just because of like the nature of the culture that we're like the omniculture that we're in now. But it's an interesting conversation.
Well, and there's a couple things that we haven't. First of all, we talk about the position of Supreme and how desperate they might be. So the bag that they would throw out to him to do something like this, I think, yes. I think, to me, like, I was chatting, maybe we were talking about this last week, like the difference between a visionary and a hype beast can be pretty slim. But like visionaries like Tyler, I do believe, like, he's super creative, but sometimes like trying to commercialize someone that visionary and that creative is really hard. And I see that with like golf. Like, there's only a certain amount of cool kids who can wear golf wang. Like, the Supreme audience gets so much bigger. And so they might have come with a really nice bag for him, especially after Tremaine left. And, you know, there's been a lot of dirt thrown on their name. They've been associated with Zuck, you know, so they've.
Well, that's interesting. I think we have some different opinions on this. I'm interested to see, do you think, do you agree with the idea that a brand like Supreme with their following and legacy and stuff is like, even no matter kind of what happens, is there like basically a tier of brands that you cannot break through with a new brand? Like, that you basically, like, they will always be functioning at a level above where you can kind of get on your own.
I disagree.
Wait, can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, so for instance, like, will Supreme always be above, like Supreme, in my opinion, is bigger than Gallery Department, Denim Tears, LaFleur, any of these, like, Rude, any of those by such a significant margin that I don't know if any, like, that without, say, a 10-year time horizon, any of them will ever be able to get there.
I believe what Ronnie Feig is doing with Kith is bigger.
But that's more than 10 years in, I feel like. And I agree, that can get there.
And he started after, and he started completely different, but he did come out of New York. But I mean, that is relevant to today. That is over length of time. It is, you know, he's not a celebrity, or didn't start as a celebrity.
And I believe like we would go to the Supreme store and the Kith store like at the same time 15 years ago. And so I do think that that's like in this other level, essentially.
Totally. I'll give you one though. I think like somebody like a Drake could potentially, you know, break through. So to me, like, Tyler is not top 40. He's not top 20 necessarily. Bima says no, but I say,
well, yeah, it's because OVO's whack. It's so
totally.
No offense to our OVO wearers in the chat.
Yes, I'm not defending OVO, but somebody like Drake who breaks through like multi-category.
Yeah, if OVO was good, maybe that has the potential, is kind of the point.
Yes. You would need a personal brand that like is breaking so big, like on a massive global stage. And I don't know that Tyler's like he's like tier 2 to me, to like a pop star like Drake.
Gen Z is not wearing OVO, and I respect that.
That's
awesome. I also think we're talking about different segments of audience as well, right? I think there is, both of these are like mass audiences, but they are different mindsets completely, as well as how they're going to adopt trend in clothing.
And OVO's doing the Supreme Terry Richardson treatment here anyway. So
with Lil Wayne for the NFL, like, are we in a time capsule from 2014? Like, what are we doing?
Oh my God, this one is so bad. Like, this collection to me is so bad. The NFL, like,
right, we're gonna get Terry Richardson, we're gonna get Lil Wayne, and we're gonna get the NFL.
Yes.
Have you seen? Have any of you seen anyone wearing OVO in real life?
Never.
Oh, I have multiple homies that wear a ton of OVO.
Okay,
but let's just say, no offense to them, they're my guys for life. They're not like there's some bumpkins, some country bumpkins.
I mean, I see kids wear it, athletes wear it, but nobody with a serious face, I don't think.
Yeah, Yeezy, the only one that jumped over Supreme. That's the one I mentioned on the chat. I think that's a good one.
Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
But we've been beating the dead horse in the Supreme channel for a minute. Any other
pleasures?
You guys have any other standout taglines from the week? Yeah.
Okay, I've got one. I want to go back to your point, Ashwin. You were actually saying like the Camry thing is for those who are chronically online and like maybe some people don't understand all those niche like terms that Buc-ee's might be using and others. And I saw a lot of people sent me this Adidas Manchester United post. Sorry, I'm going to share this tab real quick. They have the train spotting music, which I can't get out of my head.
I found myself in others.
Can y'all hear this?
Isn't that the homie from Saltburn?
Yeah. Isn't he a Burberry?
Yes. Yeah, he's like a Scottish.
And that lightning bolt hit me.
Anyway, they have the train spotting music, which I can't get away from, and all the treatment, like a little too much. We now have 2 weeks in a row. Nike did a win spot with the USA women's basketball that featured the Sicario soundtrack. And it just totally takes me out. I'm like, oh, we are extracting a drug.
Yeah, we're in a traffic jam in Mexico about to about to take out some hostiles.
Like the sickest scene ever. And this one is like just takes me back to train spotting. But a lot of people are like, what are your thoughts on this piece? And I don't really get it, to be honest. Like, I love the music. I think it's a beautiful thing. But there's so many little niche things that I don't get, which actually kind of tells me I think it's probably pretty good, because I bet you it's very deep in like Man U culture. And I'm not like a deep follower of, EPL or Man U specifically. And I think this is one of the concepts that I hope a lot of people understand, like branding and marketing, is like sometimes it's better if a bunch of people don't get it. Like you want to really land it with your core audience so that they're like in on the inside jokes or the inside little nuances that other people wouldn't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point. And I think especially from like content that lives online, and it's like, this is a reel, I don't know where else this is run. Like, is this going to be run as like a TV ad in the States? Extremely unlikely. Yeah. But is it like run as maybe like an ad over there, or does it just live online? Then I think that totally makes sense. Yeah, I think, some people's commentary was really around like, hey, when it lives in this like out of home, when it lives on like billboards or wheat paste things, even then, I think you could make the argument that like, hey, if you're doing that kind of out of home stuff in New York City, in Manhattan, downtown, you're going to be hitting an audience that's kind of like chronically online, or just like at least familiar with these trends in this language. So it's not so much of a disconnect.
Yep, that's true. Okay, I don't mean to totally hijack that, but there is one. We have a mayonnaise perfume scent that we were going to talk about, I think.
Sick.
Let me show y'all. So Will Levis, if you don't know, is a top quarterback from last year. He had this famous scene where he was putting mayonnaise in his coffee. And apparently he like loves mayonnaise. So Hellman's has like locked him up in a lifetime deal. And he's
Hellman's was like, release the bag.
There's a first-round quarterback who eats our mayonnaise by the spoonful, and I think it's like this Liquid Death. I blame Liquid Death. I actually blame Old Spice, maybe Old Spice or Liquid Death. This like trend that we talked about last week of just like
shout out to someone who already has a sample in the chat.
Yeah, somebody's like I have it.
Actually, more of a
on the seating list for the Hellman's mayonnaise.
We've got some heavy hitters in the chat.
Fans out here culturally relevant and shit.
Yeah. So Jordan, did you have a closing thought on this, or you just like this?
No, it's just like the theater of the absurd to me, which we could also show in the out of home that we have up next. But
Yeah,
I'm trying to get a deal with honey mustard. You know what I'm saying? I know y'all are too. Y'all ready?
Grey Poupon, Oren. I bet you could bring it back.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Me. I'll call Joel Santana. You know what I'm saying? We'll put something together.
Well, Santana. I haven't heard that name in so long.
Yeah, could have been the king of New York. You know.
Indeed.
Wow.
All right, go ahead, Ashwin.
I think there's to that point, like theater of the absurd. That's a great.
This was outrageous. Sorry, are you all watching this?
I am watching this.
They're covering a statue of my guy in mayonnaise.
Yes. I gotta find out who their agency is.
Is this Daniel Arsham? Sorry,
marketing. He's gonna sell it with his white gloves next week.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, Ashwin, please.
There are so a brand like Liquid Death, right? By virtue. So yes, sure, they're probably to blame for most of this that's kind of coming out or being replicated. They're a brand where everything in their DNA is absurd, right? The name is absurd. The packaging is absurd. Like everything that they do is in line with that brand of absurdity. So every collaboration that they do, it's actually funny and really, really well executed. I think, I look at this like this perfume, brand or whatever they did with Will here. And it's like, okay, it's absurd, but like, does this really tie back into Hellmann's at all? It's like, I don't know that to be a brand that is absurd or even crazy or even out there. They're doing this thing, like, sure, maybe get some shares on social and like drive some engagement. But I would kind of ask this other question. Hey, if we're really trying to drive, social conversation and shares, like how do we more naturally fit our product into existing use cases or do something like, I don't know, we had a BLT eating competition and like, the mayo plays a role in it, but like, that's not like the core of the video. I think there's other ways to kind of like get that traction that isn't just like, hey, let's do the most preposterous thing possible.
I agree with Ashwin. It feels kind of like Me Too, kind of trying to play in the lane of a trend of some other brands, but it doesn't quite seem authentic to them. Now, at the same time, I will say this is the first time that I've talked about Hellmann's maybe in like 20 years. Okay. Yeah. So I will say, like, as a marketer, hey, you got attention. Now, to Ashwin's point, how do you keep the attention? And it's got to be a bigger strategy than just shock and awe with no actual substance.
Well, this is actually a good topic. I feel would be really relevant for the audience. So, like, I don't know, for question to any of you or round robin, if say you're a brand, say you are, and you're like, hey, we need a new, more modern strategy. We're Hellmann's, we're a kind of traditional CPG powerhouse. Maybe we're a brand from a different country who's coming over to the US, who's like, we need to begin to assert cultural dominance. Yeah. How do you evaluate cultural moments to participate in? And then how do you act on them in a way that's fast enough? My biggest appreciation of this is like, this is quick, right? This guy was like, I love mayonnaise. Hellmann's is like, we got a cologne and it's out. And it's like, it's rapidly after. What is a method with which you decide that? Like, how do you actually build a framework to engage in something like this that's relevant?
Well, I mean, we always had like at Nike, we'd always have like key sport moments is what we talked about, and so those are obviously the biggest places of conversation. This quarterback, Will Levis, leading up to the NFL draft, is the one who did this like mayonnaise thing. And I think it was in one of his draft interviews in prep that they figured out that he like put mayonnaise in his coffee, and it went pretty viral. And so
that's crazy. Straight up, just like I would want, if I'm lining up, you know what I mean? He's on the opposite side. We're about to get a little tough on the court, and I know Mans has mayonnaise in his coffee. I'm just straight. I'm like, I'm leaving the play.
It's true, but I mean, I think it's smart of them to like jump on it, and then of course there's no coincidence. Like it was training camp a week or two ago that kicked off, so they launched this campaign around him there. I also think for like so I'm often talking about like the hero, the product, the moment, and the medium. And the moment is always really big and it drives conversation. You want to be a part of the conversation that's happening at that moment. The Super Bowl is obviously one of the biggest ones that people talk about. But I think, if you're a brand today in the the age of social media, you need to be quick in responsiveness, but like also figure out what are those like tier 2 moments that people are gonna be talking about that are not so on the nose, like Super Bowl, where you need $5 million to do a spot.
And so, Ashwin, if you're a brand putting together a team to do this, or you're the one to have a framework for do this, like how do you tactically begin to look at becoming culturally relevant and evaluating these things?
Yeah, so we were talking about this last week a little bit with that KD spot where Nike responded and said like, "Hey, you're not bad, you're the baddest." That was a really quick kind of turnaround, and we were having this conversation that a lot of companies will like plan at the beginning of every year or at the end of every year. They're like, "Hey, how do we tap into culture next year? How are we culturally relevant?" And they'll think of tentpole moments. Okay, the Olympics, like, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever. Like, there's going to be all of these events that, okay, let's try to build a content strategy around it. Whereas that KD moment, that ad campaign, that's nothing that they could have planned. And it was really just being responsive to something that happened there. And so I'll give you a kind of another example of this if I'm thinking from like Hellman's standpoint, right? Right now, there's this trend that's going crazy of cucumber salads. My wife the other day is like, "Hey, when you go to the grocery store, pick up like 4 packs of cucumbers." We never buy 4 packs of cucumbers, right? I'm like, "What is going on?" And she's like, "No, it's a thing. Everyone's making these salads." And she makes the salad, right? And then I pop open TikTok and it's like these videos have millions and millions of views. Everyone is talking about making these cucumber salads.
Yeah. Demure cucumber salad crossover when? I'm just asking. Yeah.
What went crazy, right? And so my question, so how I'm thinking about this as a team is like, okay, if I'm thinking about how to even respond to this and insert myself in these conversations or trends in a creative way, not just hopping on the trend for one video, it's okay, how am I building a team? And this could be just like it could be one person, it could be part of one person's role. It's like every week, I just want like a recap, or every like 3 days, I want a recap of like, what are you seeing that's trending? What's hot right now? Not necessarily from a memes. Well, in a way, this is kind of a meme, right? The cucumber salad is a meme. It's this mimetic like thing that's moving like light speed. I just want to know and be so on top of what is happening. Oh, there was 200 million views on this trend last week. Okay, that's interesting. Is there a way that we can engage in this in some creative way in the next 48 hours? How do we put out content around that? Like a product.
A big back end to that too is you have to have the framework for quick engagement, right? Basically,
exactly.
Right. You got to have the team set up. Yeah.
This is something we work through a lot. It's like, all right, what's that checklist? Like, if we want to act on something quick, okay, it's Bob approves it versus Jane, and this goes through blank and blank, and we actually work through that to get some tactical execution. Bima, can collabs happen this fast? Like, what's the like, how do you speed track a collab like this Hellman's thing?
Well, this has to be signed off all the way at the top. You have to have a structure where you have a direct line of access to the decision makers at the top that are aligned with this strategy and they want to move forward with it, and they're also aware of the potential risk as well, right? The worst type of strategy is if it's only hanging around at the lower level with the folks that are actually pressing the button, but they don't have the approvals from the top. So you just have all of these chains of breakdowns and bottlenecking where you have to go back and forth and you can never be connected to what's happening in real time. And so, for example, on anything Yeezy, right, we were tapped in directly with the C-suite as well as the board of directors, right? And so we were able to move at the speed of light because it was the brand recognized how important it was for them. So we didn't have all this chain of command to go through.
Bima, whatever happened to Wex, that guy who was always like out in front of everyone?
Wex is a consultant, man. He's working on a bunch of independent stuff right now. I can't speak to his non-competes and NDAs, but he's cooking.
Okay. Anything else from this week? We are going to do a live workshop with our friend Matt, who's got a cool kids sportswear brand. But what are we missing?
No, I think let's pop into it and do it. We can let the comments dictate if we go on any other subjects.
Yes, totally. Okay. Silly social media. Yep. The one thing that I would just add to Ashwin's point is like, y'all actually even have it right here. Embrace the youth on some other thing. Like so many people I think are just like trying to get a bunch of, senior level people who are top in their career. The youth are who can tell you what is trending this week, what's happening usually. And it's a great way. So, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to welcome to the stage now our friend and confidant, Matt Ahumeda. Matt, welcome. How do I say your last name?
Amada.
Amada. Wow. I totally.
All right. Matt, You've got 90 seconds to showcase your business, your future, and decide if the Brand Brothers are going to invest up to $1 million into taking this idea to the next level.
Shark Tank style.
Right.
Based on the answers to these questions, you could change your future. All right, I'm just joking. Matt, what's good, brother? You want to give a quick breakdown for the people of the business you are building?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me, guys. So I was actually at Nike while Jordan was there. We crossed paths a few times, but I recently left or was let go as a part of the round of layoffs, and have been working on the background on a kids sportswear brand. I'm a former athletic guy. Played soccer, college soccer, and sports just changed my life. And so I've being a dad of 3 and having 3 super active kids, sports is a huge part of our family. But I struggled to find quality athletic gear for my kids. And I worked at Nike, so arguably I was way more aware and way more just in the mix from a activewear perspective. And I just couldn't find the stuff that I wanted. Things weren't line planned the way they are like grown-up clothes, and I just didn't see the same kind of innovation that I was seeing on basically bigger sizes. So and the breaking point came when actually I tried to put my daughter into a golf camp in the winter. We live in Pasadena, Southern California, so we're lucky that we can kind of play golf year round. But I ended up having to put her in a pair of Old Navy boys pants and safety pinning the back. And I'm like, wow, this is 2022. I'm like, this feels really bad that it's 2022 and I can't find something decent to put my daughter in to play sports in. So so I've been working this for like a year and a half now. We're doing dual gender. We're focused on golf and tennis to begin with, to try to niche down and not just be super broad. And so we just launched kind of a soft launch, our first collection here about a month ago. And I've been talking, Oren, I did the Cut 30 with you and Colin a few, I think, rounds ago. And I was previously more of like a passive consumer when it comes to social. And now I'm trying to step in to be a little bit more of an active participant while launching this brand, and like trying to be both a founder as well as like tell the story and create content. And so I was just texting with Jordan a week or so ago and just saying, yo, man, like I've got like friends and family that are following me on social, and they've been great and really supportive and kind of early buyers of the brand. But like, if you were me and you don't have a huge social following, like early brand just starting to launch, like how do you think about like driving awareness, driving traffic? I think my product speaks for itself. Like I spent, again, like over a year and a half on it, and I think it's really, really good and really high quality. But it's like, that's just me, an opinion of one, thinking that like I need to like get some awareness and just traffic and like get the conversation started. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I'm doing.
Well, Matt, I mean, thanks for sharing that. You got an opinion of 4 more over here who are advocates. My wife literally this morning put my daughter in that dress and she was like, I want that dress. Like, how do I get that? I've got a comment here of Daniel. I'm going to guess that Daniel doesn't have kids or doesn't appreciate sportswear, because I have seen this for about 10 years. He's like, have you ever heard of Dick's Sporting Goods? Yeah, absolutely. We have. Have you ever been to Dick's Sporting Goods and actually bought something for your kids there? It's crap. So like, if you don't appreciate maybe finer sportswear or haven't experienced like a nice product like a Lulu or a Legend short or something, then you know what the kids are getting. And so talk to us about, like, you've done some manufacturing, like what you're obviously getting really good product. Like what has that process been like? And then maybe we can jump into some of the marketing challenges you're having.
Yeah. I mean, the manufacturing process is a whole different beast. I was just, geeking out and watching a little bit of Oren's travels to Guangzhou. I'm manufacturing in China. I couldn't find anybody else to like manufacture and take me on based on my MOQs. So I was only doing like a couple hundred. I didn't want to like sign up for a huge dollar amount. So a couple hundred per styles for an MOQ. And China was the one place that would kind of take me on. And that's, but it's been a typical kind of like tech pack, get a sample, make some changes. Again, I'm lucky that I've got my kids that have kind of been my fit models and kind of sizing to get adjustments and feedback from them, and then tapping into our local community for also some kind of feedback and like real-time thoughts and ideas, and kind of pushing kind of on the pressure points that I was feeling. And then, we went through 3 or 4 rounds. I think the unfortunate thing is, honestly, I designed, or we kind of like scoped this for summer, to be like, summer like vacations, summer camps, like summer celebrations, summer holidays. And because of like a number of like reasons, we just missed summer. Like we didn't actually get product till end of July. So that's been like, and so to try to launch a brand right now is hard, given kind of just the climate around the election and everything that's happening. But also it's end of summer, and it's like people are on vacation, and it's just that. So that's been hard, like that. That just kind of lining up calendars. But yeah, like I said, I feel really good about the actual like quality of the product. Just a matter of like trying to get in front of more people.
All right. So let me start with your question, and I'm gonna throw this to the group. You texted me. You were running this biz. What would you do to drive traffic? I don't have your social following, so you think partnering with influencers is the best bet. What would Brand Brothers, turning over to you? What would you be doing to drive traffic here for physical education?
I could pop in with a few to start. So I think three key things I'd be looking at. One is you got to weaponize cute on short form video. Like if you look at the Essence spelling bee stuff, I don't know if you guys kind of saw that, but basically Essence they had all these kids in like couture and basically doing like really cute stuff. And it was a couple videos in a row. It smashed, very big attention. I think that like anytime you are, putting kids and stuff, you basically need to lean in as deep as you can into that cute element. And I'd be trying to find what that recurring series is of like, whether it's like kids giving instructional golf tips or whatever that is, where they're like wearing the thing and people are like, I have to share this. This is too cute. That is your best weapon to be able to get shareability in the algorithm and get to parents. But it requires some production and like child actors and like stuff that's probably generally a nightmare. The second piece is leaning into that value education piece. Like if I was doing a recurring series, whether it was with an influencer or on my platform, and I was doing value content for this, I'd be leaning into like the golf dad or the tiger mom or the whoever, like, hey, how do I get my daughter into golf? How do I get my daughter good at tennis? How do I get my son, like everyone wants their son to be a soccer prodigy, whatever. Like here's 4 tips. Here's our 8 series. Here's how to learn a backhand for 7-year-olds, whatever it is. Cause again, the shareability, building value again as the brand, easy showcase for the clothing. And those are obviously kind of more brand specific plays. But I think that's content that resonates in the algorithm. And then third, I think you're exactly right on the influence, because there's all these parents and moms and who literally have their whole social presence built around being parents. They make a lot of money doing that. But I think you have to find like that content fit for them. It's not just them talking about it in an ad. It's them being like, hey, here's our playing into the brand name. Like, here's our physical education series, whatever. I think the brand name is one of your strongest points with that, because you can basically make a campaign with the brand name across influencers or maybe even collaborating or like influencer children competition. That may be too far to kind of lean into that. But I think you have a couple really good conceptual things that could really blow up on social, but they're not going to be like organic and iterative. They're going to be like pretty well thought out and like executed like campaigns. Curious what else y'all think.
I love that.
Yeah. I think Oren hit a kind of like pretty good framework for how to think about content. I think a couple of things that you already have going for you really well is like you have a great name, you have like really strong, like well shot content already. Like there's a pretty cohesive brand here that reflects more of the premium price point as well as the audience that you're going after, right? It's like a tennis and golf niche. They tend to be a little bit more like exclusive, like speaking to affluent, affluent parents. So I think you kind of have this universe in which to start with, which is pretty narrow. It's not, hey, we make all kinds of activewear for kids playing any sport. That's a little bit more broad. So a question that I always like to ask, right? Let's kind of leave the online side off for a second, and let's just talk like offline, is what are kind of unique points of distribution where you can hit this audience? And so the audience isn't actually the kids, right? Because it's actually the parents making the decision to purchase the stuff. And, you can't, I think you probably appreciate the idea that the parents are dressing their kids a certain way because like, hey, me as a mom or dad, like I wear that type of stuff. I want my kid to look cute in this type of stuff when they're playing golf, even if the kid is like, dude, I want to wear cargo shorts and a jersey when I play golf,
Yeah.
So my question is, what are some of those unique distribution points you could tap into from in like offline spaces or in real life spaces to hit this audience? And so you're in Pasadena. Does that look like going to your local country club or like tennis club? And maybe there's a day when there's just like a kids tennis tournament and it's really just like, hey, could I do a pop-up in the clubhouse where I bring some of my stuff, I make some like small flyers or cards, and I just have this really interactive, like one-to-one non-scalable interaction with the parents who are there. And it's not even so much an activity of like, let me sell and move a bunch of units in this space. It's really, let me open up the conversation and get my brand in their mind, because it's going to be this conversation where like, okay, then they have to follow you and then they have to slowly build that relationship. Not everyone's going to be, hey, I'm going to buy right here. So I would think about, hey, how do I leverage my immediate surroundings and the immediate places that I'm in to just have some kind of a presence, even if it's just somewhat low lift, low budget, just to be there and open up this conversation.
Yeah, one thing I'd add to what Ashwin is saying, I really love this strategy because we get so much in the conversation around social media first, but this is also an approach that could end up on social. But the other thing I would say is if there is budget, I think you have to get people in the product, right? Get the kids in the product. If there's something you can do from an allocation side to seed product and perhaps on the relationship building side, right? There's got to be parents, right, in this affluent network who possibly also might have significant followings that would also probably be interested in this, right? And then these folks can become some of the biggest cheerleaders. The other thing that I would say, and it depends on comfort level, depends on your comfort level, is I do think it's important to figure out kind of what your voice is in this story and maybe your family's voice in this story. And how do you actually tell that story going back to what Oren was sharing around the around the content strategy, right? So I think there's a couple of different things there to tap into, but those are two things that I'd also suggest as well. Is like the power of getting people to have a experience with the product. It can't be understated. I mean, when I worked in running, we used to do a ton of, workshops with running clubs where we'd get them to try on running products. Some people would leave with product, but, they might, then go in and purchase some stuff. So something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this, there's a couple of people in the comment, like Nikki was talking about farmers market and smaller places like that. I think that's right. But I think Ashwin's like suggestion of like a youth tennis tournament, a youth golf tournament, youth golf clinics, like maybe it is those places where kids are learning. Maybe less like, I feel like there's a bit more of a community vibe in those places where everybody's kind of learning. You could do seeding at the like top tournaments or those top kids. And I do think, I couldn't find it here, but there's a lot of these young, like I know in golf specifically, there's these young like kids who have these swing prodigies, who are incredible swings and often like really cute, charismatic kids. Man, yeah. I would get on an ambassador deal with them ASAP and just have them wear it and tag it when they do their swing stuff. And you don't need a bunch of like, oh, it's my favorite product, but like they're just in it constantly.
Yeah.
Matt, have you done any seeding?
Yeah, Jordan. Just kidding. Yeah, we just started, and have had, again, it's just been like a struggle just to like get through again because I'm so like unknown on social. Just like as I'm reaching out to some of these moms or some of these like younger like kid swing prodigies. There's one actually in the OC. This girl Indy who's like an incredible golfer.
She 8.
I think she's 8. She's 8. Yeah.
I came across her a week or so ago. My God.
Yeah, her swing is incredible. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so yes, I am like, we are seeding, we are reaching out. I think the other big learning here that early on the seeding front is like, I got to get to moms because moms are the CFOs of the house. They're the ones doing the purchasing. And like, again, full transparency, like I've been reaching out to a lot of dads, and like a lot of like dad golf influencers, and they're like, cool. I don't buy clothes for the kids. Like these look great, but again, kind of similar to what Jordan just says, like it's the wife, it's the mom that's the one that's like making the purchase. So like I'm trying to get better about like really honing in and focusing a lot of like my time on seeding, as well as like some of the content that's like more mom focused.
A follow-up on that. Are you reaching out from the phys ed account or from Matt?
Yeah. From phys ed.
From phys ed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think how I think about it, I think, you know, the lessons and insights there are totally right. There's this whole cohort of kind of like millennial mom influencer that has built an audience, you know, hundreds of thousands to millions of followers on Instagram based on like their personal style, aesthetic, living a kind of aspirational lifestyle. And they've often brought their kids into the fold. I think of someone like Something Navy, for example, is like a good example of this. Granted, she was like mildly canceled, but like, anyway, there are many of those, that kind of like profile. And I think that fits. That is the type of audience that you want to go after. They're used to like people sending them product, and especially like it tends to often be like product for them, whether it's clothing, beauty, makeup. And I think this is interesting because like, hey, it's not product for you. It's like, it's cute, well-designed product for your kids in sports that they probably play. I would say like, okay, how do I canvas that entire like world of, you know, creator? And then how do I just reach out to them and, you know, probably have a hit rate of whatever, 10 or 20%, but with a big enough base it's sizable.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I also think there's, I've seen this somehow, I think through Wimbledon. Ashwin and I were going back and forth through Wimbledon, but I'm in a tennis thing now, and I've saved a few of these. There's this tennis dude who does all these like really, I think you can't underestimate the power of spectacle right now on social. And so like, where is the coolest tennis court that you could take your kids to just hit some tennis balls? In legit, like, is there a grass court? Is there a clay court, you know, in the LA Orange County area? Because that stuff is just really cool. He also did this one of like the coolest tennis room. Oren, I thought of your Lacoste piece here, where it's like a fully decorated Lacoste room. So like the power of spectacle is really strong, and also really available in Orange County and Los Angeles. And this one other one I wanted to show you, I've been meaning to bring it up for us. There's this brand called Yoni LA, and they're doing these really fascinating, like switching of context. Isn't this interesting? And I mean, maybe it's a little bit sacrilegious, but they do one in an empty construction space that looks really interesting. They do one in a lavateria that's really interesting. And I wonder, what are those places that like kids maybe could do? Could you do that in a you know, jungle gym type thing, or in a play like a Chuck E. Cheese that has all those balls, you know, but like, is that what they're hitting? You know, because you can't, the only thing I would want on this is that they just crop it vertical, for the love of God.
Imagine if these videos were just 9x16.
God. Why? I don't understand it. I don't.
You know why? You know why?
You
know why?
No one wants to consume.
God, it drives me freaking crazy. I might have a full head of hair if people crop for freaking vertical on the primary driver of video content over the last 5 to 10 years. Anyway, sorry.
Hey, Jordan, we can still get your full head of hair. You want to go to Turkey? We can get this done.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, bro. Yeah, Grand Brothers Turkey trip. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'll be at the Fabric Bazaar. You know, Ashwin and Bima can be on the big balloon. Jordan just getting the
I can't with all that. I have one more. I've got one more for you that I thought was like a really sly thing. So Olipop, by the way, who might be a future guest of the Brand Brothers next week or the following, just did this partnership with my guy Sahith Tigala, is a PGA pro. He is curiously not tagged in this video, but they did a partnership with his girlfriend. And she only has a few thousand followers, but she obviously she gets access to a lot of these places, and she has him featured in the content, which I'm sure his marketing agent is probably slapping him for this. But you know, he's in this, not tagged, but I think there's something really interesting. I saw this all the time at Nike, and Matt, maybe you experienced this as well. These athletes they get a ton of product all the time, and they get a lot of cool stuff. A lot of like seeding 201 and 301 is going to your target and saying, hey, I'd love to send you some stuff. What is your spouse's size, or what are your kids' size? And this is where you really create like a deep level of connection with people, because I get stuff all the time. So like when you reached out, I'm so stoked to get something for my kids, because I have too many golf polos I could ever wear. I think it's that, like, I think pros or even high influential people really welcome someone thinking about and taking care of their kids on a more premium level. So those are a couple of the kind of clandestine, cool ways that you can get to people through their heartstrings as well, because the product is great.
Yeah, and I will say back to the retail point, and then we have some conversation kind of going on here in the chat too, right? We're like, yeah, kids don't necessarily care about what they wear or know the difference. Parents do, but yes. But like these decisions happen at retail. Like this is one of those, like, and I was in like, selling toys for the last 2 years, so I'm ultimately familiar with this. We're like, if you have this viral campaign, you do get content well, you're going to get like almost a single-digit % of the traction that you're going to get online through e-com, which is like the sad truth, versus if you have any level of decent, like, hey, I'm in Bass Pro Shops. Hey, I'm in, even like Tractor Supply, which is massive. Obviously Walmart, Target, like any of those. But like, I think still before any of this, like even like the retail presence is going to be crucial to actually convert that back end of any social that gets done, because I think almost all these purchases are happening still, like the vast majority inside that segment. Like we get my kids stuff at Zara all the time. Like in some, like occasionally some Baby Rick or whatever. But like it's a very it's like, I think that they're like, but that nice part about content with that, and this is something that applies to every kind of demographic for other people in the chat, is like you start to get some content traction and you go to have the retail conversation, it's much easier. Right? Like the brand I was working with last with the most retail, we were in Costco, we were in Walmart, we were in Target, we had a lot of viral videos. And we also had this big viral account we put together in Spanish. And that was a big part of our value prop going to have the conversations. We'd be like, hey, not only do we have all this traffic that needs somewhere to go to convert, and this is like where parents go to convert in this category, we also have this demographic that's really enticing to you that we're marketing to directly that also needs a place to convert. And we're the only person in our category doing it. And I think those conversations with retail are great to be able to pair that like success with content with like, hey, this is where your customer converts. You can be a part of that journey. Kind of resonates pretty well. And I do think that this category, right, is huge for all those brands, right? And if you're like, hey, we can bump your price points higher inside this category that's important to you, I think it's a really good retail value proposition.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's a great point. I also, we got some good brainstorming here in the chat, but the targeting moms, affluent moms for an elevated touch point. I love the gift for moms who take kids to practice. Like this is sort of marketing 201, I would say. Is like a lot of times you're thinking about who your consumer is, but then that next level is like, what are their rituals and behaviors, and where do they go, and where is the places that they're always passing? So maybe that's where you do tasting or out of home. But like, I would be asking moms like, what's it like when you're taking kids to practice? Are you waiting? Are you having to entertain your other kids? So like, for example, my sister, was taking her kid to voice lessons. She had her 2 boys. She wanted to bring them to our house, but she realized traffic was going to be crazy. So how are you entertaining those other 2 kids that's not just giving them an iPad or something like that? So it's like a gift for mom. And then you're like, for those times when you're waiting at practice for your other kids, here's a gift with purchase. And that is like this light bulb where they go, oh my gosh, like they totally get me. Wow.
They get me. Yeah.
And they tell their friends about it, So
yeah, I love that.
Super clever. All right. We have a couple of minutes left. Matt, is there any other things that are on top of your brain or anything else you want from the brand brothers?
I guess,
audience here?
Just to touch back just on what Oren was saying around, I think part of the thing I'm struggling, like one thing I'm struggling with is like as a solo founder, like the prioritization, like it's D2C, Ash, when I am talking to like country clubs and like as less of a sales channel, but more of like a marketing channel, to your point of just getting in front of the right audience. But that's like its own thing and its own beast, for me to be in my car and buzzing to different clubs and showing like, and then there's also like traditional wholesale, you know what I mean? Like talking to, I'm too small for some of the bigger boys, but like talking to boutiques. But like, how would you guys think about, again, that prioritization? Like where's like the most like bang for my buck, or time? Really, time is like the biggest thing that I'm struggling with, like to prioritize, because I can spend all my time like creating content and like, to your point, like trying to build up a bit of more of a social presence to try to get a 1% conversion rate on my site, or I can go and like host a bunch of like tennis tournaments, but it's hard for me to like understand just the weighting and the prioritization. That is a real struggle.
So I think that's a good question that every brand operator at various stages of scales grapples with this question. The way that I have been able to deal with this, especially when you're in an exploratory phase of not necessarily even knowing what works. Like, is e-com going to be the big driver? Is retail going to be the big driver? Is influencer seeding going to be the big driver? Is bucketing this into kind of like 1 to 2 week sprints and basically saying, okay, I'm not even going to like touch and look at e-com for the next 2 weeks. It's just going to be, okay, there's 15 country clubs or clinics near me. How do I go talk to a manager in the next like 2 weeks and get some kind of information from them? And so it would be like, okay, let me tee all of those up over the next 3 days. I'm just going to go have all of these meetings and introduce the brand and then make my ask, which is, hey, do you have any of these like events where I could do a quick pop-up? If out of that exercise, so it's kind of a hypothesis, right? It's this hypothesis, like, I think this would work. Maybe you go to those 15 places over 3 days and you realize, hey, only like 1 out of 15 was interested. 14 out of 15 said the same thing to me. And they said, hey, we don't allow external vendors to show up here that aren't selling product in our stores. Then it's like, okay, great. You have this information now, which is like, that's probably not a worthwhile path for me to go down right now. It sounds like they need to be selling my product first in order for me to do any kind of pop-up there. So it's like, all right, I'm tabling that, but at least I have some information, right? I like took this action that produced information, and then I just say yes or no. Maybe I do a bunch of influencer seeding and it turns out, hey, that actually works super fucking well. And then it's, okay, how do I scale that out? Because I can't canvas all of these people and reach out to them. I'm actually going to hire an intern who does this thing in like 20 hours a week. That's all they're doing. And then I'm thinking of like how to level up those PR packages, because I saw so much, 5 of those posts drives a lot more awareness and traffic and interest in my brand than the other activities I'm doing. So I'm going to focus there. So it's really kind of like being methodical about, okay, what am I testing? Like, what channels and activities am I testing? And then how do I just time constrain like that activity so I'm not trying to do 15 different things at once, thinking that they're all going to work.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, gents. This has been amazing. Matt, we just threw the whole kitchen sink at you.
Thank you, guys.
You're one person.
Awesome.
Where can people find you? Let them know.
Physed.co, both on Instagram as well as on for DTC.
Okay. Physed.co, and your website is physed.co. Amazing.
Physed.co. Same.
All right, man. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to wrap this show up. Y'all go follow Matt and Physed. I just want to put a bow on this. I have built a Camry for $46,000 back here.
Oh my God.
That's not even with premium wheels. I think with some good 22s, I could get up to
with Texas sales tax, that's $60K easily. I'm just
absolutely saying. $60K. Okay. Maybe. Couple of announcements before next week. Bima, do you have anything you want to share?
Yeah. So pretty sad news for me, at least. This is going to be my last time joining with the brothers on a weekly cadence. Of course, I'd love to be invited back as a guest, but there's a couple other things that are in the hopper that I'm going to be focused on. So I got to part ways with my guys, which is super tough because I've been enjoying this, and I appreciate y'all for allowing me to be a part of it for this time. So
absolutely. Well, it's not goodbye. It's see you later, and we're happy for the stuff. People pay attention at Bima Williams. He's got some great content on the way and a cool show coming. So we love this, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in. The chat is popping this week. Oren, Ashwin, any parting thoughts here? Or?
Yeah, I'd like to read this haiku from
Lord.
No party.
All right.
It's really formative for this moment. Right.
Oh, one thing I do want to say. I'm sorry. One thing I have to say right now. My guy Jordan is like, I don't know, a handful of followers away from 100K on Instagram, and I need y'all to go get my guy over 100K.
You're not following Jordan Rogers on Instagram. He's at 99.9.
We're on 100K watch, y'all. So
get my guy over.
Look at this. I mean, we're at 99.9. So get your boy to 100K so that I can go take a break. I'm tired.
It's all over once you hit 100K. It's all downhill from there.
It's all downhill. It's all down from there. All right, y'all. Great week of Brand Brothers. We'll be back next week in different locations. Thanks for everybody. Appreciate y'all. Have a great week.
Peace.